Welcome to Wholehearted Living with
Valerie
and Bennie.
Woohoo!
You're supposed to say
this is the podcast where one of us brings a subject and the other one doesn't know about it, and then we discuss it and figure out a way to bring it around to wholehearted living.
Yeah,
and we
figure out a way to bring it. So we talk about ants. It doesn't matter.
We are. If you're new, we are siblings, by the way.
Yeah, so that means brother and sister.
Yes.
Valerie needed to clarify that in our last one.
That. I know.
Iggy, how are you doing? Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Iggy's our sound. What do we call him?
Keep him in sound.
Yeah, he keeps us in sound. Yeah, he doesn't keep.
He does
him
everything
in sound.
basically.
Yeah, he does everything but the
we show
talking
up and
part.
talk.
Yeah, but recently he's been trying to talk a lot more, so we had to mute himself.
We're like, stop
it,
mute.
man. Just stay in your lane. I'm totally kidding. Okay, so I think I mentioned a while ago that I go early in the morning to swim occasionally because I don't have windows during the day to work out. So I go early to swim. Mm-hmm. And the place that's nearest me only has 2 lanes. And so I have been there early in the morning before, and they're taken, and then we have to share. And some people are really good about sharing, and some people are like horrible. I had a dude that swam, if you could see YouTube, those of you on Spotify can't, just imagine a guy flailing his arms. And literally, I asked him, can I swim next to you? He said yes. But I could tell he was like hesitant, but I was like, whatever. And I could tell also, I thought, you're going to have to change how you swim a little bit, or we're going to run into each other. Yeah. And sure enough, we're swimming, and I'm like a normal swimmer, and my arm went into his arm. It was like we were literally doing do-si-do, whatever, what's that called?
You mean like a like a square dancing?
Square dancing,
like,
exactly. And I was like, dude, and because he swims like this, he's like but anyway, and then he left. Like I guess he doesn't know how to swim without flailing his arms, but anyway. So I go to this other gym that's much farther away, but it has 3 lanes. And so, but at that hour, it's usually pretty fast because there's no traffic, obviously. And so I'm thinking it's no big deal. I get there this morning, the pool is closed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, what's really irritating is that it was closed yesterday.
They should send an email.
I know. They should do something or put it on. This place where I go, you park in the parking garage. You have to walk up 2 floors. Like, it's a lot of people go in an elevator, which I still don't understand why a 24-hour fitness has an elevator. It's like, take the stairs, doofus. Right. And then you just did half your walking workout. Right. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway. So I walk up the 2 things and whatever. They should put it in the parking lot. Pool is closed. So that way you can see it, and then you just turn around and leave. It doesn't make any sense. But yesterday I went there and it said pool's closed. And I went to the guy and I said, it says pool's closed, but I see 2 people swimming. And the guy goes, oh yeah, well go ahead. And so I did. Oh. It was really, really cloudy. But I was like, whatever, as long as it's got chlorine and I'm not going to die, I'm fine. And sure enough,
You died?
The pool guy. Yes, I'm dead. So that's wholehearted living for you folks. No. So then the pool guy came. And he ended up kicking me out because I was the last swimmer. And he goes, there was actually a bunch of signs up, like basically saying you're an idiot. Right. And I said, dude, I saw the signs, but there were 2 people swimming in here. And the person at the front said, no, you can go ahead and swim. So I was like, okay, I'm going to swim. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, well, he's wrong. He goes, you're perfectly healthy. There's plenty of chlorine, but it will never get the cloudy look away
if somebody's in it.
If people are in it.
Yeah.
So you can't go. But he goes, tomorrow it'll be open. And so I was like, oh, cool.
And then you go today.
And so I went today, which is tomorrow, and it was closed. And so I was so frustrated because I thought I can jump in. It was clearer, but it wasn't clear. And I thought I don't want to make it worse, whatever. So I was like, I was so frustrated because I thought, he told me that it was going to be open. Yeah. That's the whole reason why I came here. Right. So now I go to the one that's closer to me, and then it's frustrating because no one's in it, which means if I would have went to it in the first place, I would have been fine.
And you would have been done.
Yes, and I would have been done, and I would have been closer to the house in the first place and everything else. And so now I'm frustrated, and I don't know about you, but there are times when I'm not in the mood to work out, but I need to, and I know I should. And I just was not I was not happy. I was like, I was swimming like with a poopy attitude. And I was just like, I just was so frustrated at the whole day. Because the other thing is I took the wrong directions to get to the place. I went way because the whole way I was like angry at the whole situation. And I was,
did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed?
Yeah. And when I was saying to myself, do you ever do this? Do you ever fight with yourself in your head? Like, I'm not going to go. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I need to go. I'm going to fight.
Yes.
Yes. And so that's what was happening the whole way. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm going to go. But by the time I decided I was going to go, now I'm not in the right way to get there. And it took longer, and then I finally get there, and then I said to myself, if there's not a parking space toward the front, then I'm just leaving, because I had all these rules, and I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be a parking space,
so
and there was.
I
was like, oh God,
it was meant to be to go, except that it wasn't open.
And then I go, and then So anyway, I was just frustrated, and I did swim. I couldn't swim as long because I had taken so long to get there and all these things, but I did swim for, I don't know, 1,200 yards or something like that. But then I had to stop and I don't know. I hate it when I start my day like that. And then Patty called me later on. I got home. I told her about my thing. We do our normal morning routine stuff, watch a little news, we talk and whatever. And then she called me because something was going on with the car, and she asked me about it. And I was like, I'm still not happy, right?
Yeah.
And I had to answer on my phone, my watch. Get smart. And so I had to, oh no, he used the shoe, huh?
Yeah.
This is Mr. Gadget. This is Mr. Gadget, right? And so I had to answer on my watch, and then she's asking me about, like, Patty, I don't know. I can't tell you right now. We got to do it. And then...
You're talking nice right now.
Yeah, I wasn't. And then I did call her and apologize because I was kind of poopy.
Right. Good.
And but anyway, that was my morning, and I just wanted to share it with you.
Oh well, did it get better?
It did get better.
Good.
That's a really nice face. What was that? Did you see her face? Did you get better? I don't know what happened.
That was my cartoon face.
Yeah, it kind of looks like you work with special actors.
I do.
I know.
I've had mornings like that, but I try really, really hard to like flip the switch. Like just, you know what I mean? Like we've talked about that so many times, but there are those mornings where it's just like one thing after another, and you're just like, okay, I just need to get back into bed and start all over.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that, what ended up happening was, I think actually asking, telling Patty I was really sorry and her, giving me a pass. I mean, she said, yeah, you were kind of a prick. And then she said, but thank you for calling. And then that
probably helped.
Yeah, it totally did. And then it changed my mindset and stuff. And then I had a good day in terms of clients and other stuff. So the day was good overall. And I have to admit, I really do like, we've talked about this too. I really do enjoy working out early. I don't like driving away, but I do like working out early. Because I just like it that during the day I'm not in a rush to quickly
you're not
work
trying
out.
to figure out, when can I fit it in?
Yeah. And so it's kind of nice to just do that.
I've done that. Because I go every morning. I'm at the gym at 6 a.m. And like there are days where if I don't have to go into work, I'm like, oh, should I just wait and not go and then just go a little bit later? And I do the whole thing like you said that you did on the way, like, should I go? Should I not go? And inevitably when I've pushed it back, and I only push it back an hour, I'm not talking like I go in at 10, I go in at 7. Like I go in there, you don't see the same people around. It's a different, you know what I mean? I'm like, why didn't I just come in? What was an hour? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it does, I think when you have your schedule, your routine, it just helps. It helps keep, I don't know.
Well, and I think the thing for me is in the past, I didn't do it in the morning because I had school. And so I woke up in the morning, I've talked about my routine in the morning. And then I get down and I do a lot of homework. I would get a lot of homework done before 7 a.m. So, or before 6 really, because by 6 I was taking a 45-minute walk. And then on my walk, I often was reading because I have that audio thing. So I was reading a lot of stuff. So it was like the morning was purposeful to get homework done. I don't have that now.
Right.
I don't need to do homework.
Right.
I still read a lot. I've read a couple books. So
in the morning though, in your garage?
No.
Yeah.
So if I work out, I would have to go to 24 hours. 24. So whenever I work out with 24, it's usually swimming. But there's a part of me that's considering that on occasion, I'm just going to go work out in the I mean, physically, like do an actual workout. I did hurt my knee. I still don't even understand what happened. I woke up one time and my knee was swollen. I don't even have any idea what happened because I don't remember ever hurting it at all.
Interesting.
And I will say this, that, the wonderful bench that we talked about that I built, it was funny because there was a lot of squatting with the bench. We were constantly squatting. And what's funny is that when you're doing something like that, you're not even thinking about it. You're just doing what you're doing, right? And the next day I told Patty, I go, I'm sore. Which is weird because I work out a lot.
Right.
And so I shouldn't get sore from that. But yeah, it's just totally different. I was like, my knees are sore or my legs are sore and my even my arms because we screwing things in.
Peter
and all
helped
that.
somebody move and he the next day was like, oh my God, I'm so sore. But it's funny because if you saw how much he was like lifting on the platforms, he lifts technically more weight than what he was doing with moving boxes and stuff. But he goes, it's just awkward way you're carrying things and you're up and down and you're, so.
Oh, for sure. I was doing deadlifts the other day and I was doing moderate weight. Well, I was doing 275 and I was doing it 6 times or whatever. And I'm like, I could do that. And then I come over here and I'm just doing this, working with 2x4s. But you're doing it so much. Yeah. And there was a lot of squatting. So that's the thing. But anyway, all right. Are you ready for a subject?
Yes, please. Give it to me, baby.
Wow, that's awkward for you to be calling me baby.
That was a song. I'm not calling you baby.
Well, it sounded like it. And we have it on tape. Tape. Digital tape.
Do we have it on VHS?
Okay. You love this part of my...
You're going to ask me a question.
You know what's funny is I'm only going to ask you questions today.
Oh, good. I love that.
But these are better questions. These aren't questions about... these are literally questions about you, and I'll answer them too. Maybe we'll get Iggy involved.
Are you going to ask me if I'm going gray?
That was last podcast, okay? So here is my... So what I did was I just investigated some questions that have to do with how we can be like ourselves. And so I have several questions about that. Like, how can we have self-discovery, authenticity? Those are some of the things that I said. A section that I have is emotional and mental well-being. And then another section I have is relationship and connection. And then the last section is meaning and purpose. These are sections, okay? And then I'm going to ask you a question, at least one question about each of those areas, and then we'll discuss where it goes. She's about to smack me because I'm shaking my leg.
Yes, he's bouncing.
Okay. So my first question for you today, it's about self-discovery and authenticity. So Iggy, be prepared because in case she's like, then you're going to have to butt in.
I'm going to say the same thing.
And I guess I'll have to answer. What is a belief or value you've held since childhood that still resonates with you today? I'll ask it again, and you as a listener can do the same thing. What's a belief or value you've held since childhood that still resonates with you today? Survey says...
That's a really good question that I don't know how to answer.
Yeah, well, we could just talk about it.
A value that I've had since childhood.
Can you even remember a belief or value that you've had since childhood? Something that either dad taught us or mom taught us or or school.
This is going to be very weird and awkward, but the belief.
You could get ready for the edit.
Mom told me, I don't know how old I was, but mom told me that you don't have sex until you get married because you save that for your husband. And so I said, okay. And that's what I did. Now,
yeah.
So, okay. Question number 2.
I just heard Valerie on the headphones. I just heard Valerie's answer, and I just heard Bennie swallowing his drink.
That's what she said. Okay. And so why does that still resonate with you today?
Just because I don't think that a lot of people, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But the reason it resonates with me is because when we're in topics of conversation about people like having premarital sex and stuff like that, people will assume that I have, and they will have asked, I'm like, well, no, I didn't. Oh, because why? And well, my mom told me that I save it for my husband. You know what I mean? Like it was a thing that I just carried with me. So the only reason it still resonates because it's a topic that I might be talking about with people. And, obviously when I married Peter, I was not a virgin anymore, but I'm talking about my first husband. So, but that was something that just resonated with me, and it didn't have to do with God. It didn't have to do with, religion, any kind of, it was mostly because Mom said, this is the gift you give your husband. And for some reason that stuck in my mind. And I thought, okay, I'll do that. And
so, but you say it still resonates with you today, meaning it is an awkward subject because I don't want to put you in a weird place.
Well, I think because I am actually proud that happened.
Oh, okay.
Because there was opportunity. I know this is going to be a lot too much information, but I did have boyfriends in high school, and there could have been opportunities, and I said no.
But what you said, so for you, but I guess when I say what is a value, so when I'm saying what is a value that resonates with you today, I guess the curiosity is, okay, are you saying hey folks out there, you should never have sex before marriage?
I mean, if you really want my answer, I'll say yeah. And only because I think for a lot of people, when you open the door to having one sexual partner, then it just opens the door to okay, well, I've already had sex with somebody. So this is just my personal opinion. And I don't think people need to be, virgins when they get married. I really don't. Like, obviously I'm more open to the fact that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you really want my honest opinion, like if somebody came to me and said, well, I've been with this boyfriend for this amount of time, I'm thinking about sleeping with him, what are your thoughts? I would say, well, and I would be honest with my thought about it.
Yeah.
On the flip side, there are the people that go, well, how are you going to know if it's even
compatible or whatever?
Yeah. And I get that part too. I'm not going to lie. I'm still open. I'm not narrow-minded about it, but, and I would never chastise anybody for doing it either. Like, I obviously know many, many people that they don't wait until they get married. But I mean, if somebody really wanted my honest and heartfelt answer about it, I would say, yeah, save yourself till you're married.
Yeah. And so the point of that would be like for you, or I guess the thing for me, and in terms of this, what I'm really trying to discover is not discuss your answer as much as what I'm saying is that's your authentic self. That's who you are. It's like that's right. You're saying for me, it's,
well, I can't say okay. So, oh boy, this is a lot of information. I can't say that's how I felt. And I still kind of feel that way. But, going into my marriage with Peter, it wasn't like I was going to say, okay, we're waiting until we get married. Like
you didn't.
I didn't. And I didn't care to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that was something that meant to me. And you said childhood. That's all that came to mind. I don't know if you gave me an hour or a day, I might think of something else.
No,
but
I should have emailed you these, but then it would have changed the whole podcast. And what we did.
I might have thought of something else. But that's just off the cuff what came to my mind. And,
but it's interesting how when there's certain things that people say when we're childhoods, when we're in our childhood, how it sticks to us, and then those things can define how we end up living our lives, right? And so one of the things that I'm just hearing from you is that for you, at that point in your life, having a sense of that unique relationship with somebody else at that moment was really super important. That's what I'm hearing you say. Yeah, because the one thing the church, the fact of the matter is that Mom said that because of the church. I mean, that was her.
Well, I mean, when I started going to church I obviously went to Catholic church, so I'm sure she had that from there. But she never brought anything about church into it or God or religion.
No, right.
She really honestly, and this is before we started going to like NRC, she really
Right.
meant like, this is a gift you give your husband. So,
Right. Right. And well, and the thing that's interesting about the well, I don't want to get into the whole conversation of sex because we could talk about that for a really, really, really long time. But what I will say is that,
and I don't really like to talk about sex with you.
yeah, that's a little awkward. It is a little awkward. It's like I have to tell you, there's a gazillion things. When I wrote these questions, I thought
You did not think that would come up.
That is not one that I thought was coming up. I mean, like I had no idea. And Mom never told me that. She must have thought he's never
Boys
having
are
sex.
different.
I think she's thinking.
Go get it, Bennie.
I think she's honestly thinking he has no chance with anybody.
That's what he thought. Yeah, that's what he
Do you remember Michelle Hurley?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you remember what I used to do to her?
Have sex with her?
No.
What are you saying?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
What are you
You know that my wife is literally, now mine was due to the church, but Patty's the only person I've ever had sex with.
That's great.
Yeah. And we didn't start till after marriage,
See?
technically.
So you listen to Mom's advice too?
No, Mom didn't say anything. And Mom, I don't remember Mom or Dad ever talking to me about sex. So it's interesting. Yeah, never, nothing.
Well, Dad never talked about it, but Mom did tell me the whole story.
Oh yeah, no. I think I learned sex from probably someone like Peter in 5th grade, because I seriously, I remember sex education.
That's funny.
To be honest with you,
interesting because I know she had the talk with Stephanie and I. So.
Yeah, no. Well, that's because you guys probably because of your monthly thing, and she had to describe what the heck was going on.
Well, maybe.
But did you know how Ashley found out
about the monthly thing or sex?
Sex.
Oh no.
I bought her a student Bible, like a youth Bible. And was she in junior high, Patty? What grade is she?
5th grade.
5th grade. So she was young. But I bought it for her because it was a cool thing. It was a cool Bible and it had like really cool topics. Well, so she was reading it and she goes, Dad, there's this one area and it talks about sex. What's sex? And Patty and I were like, we had already talked about, okay, when are we going to talk about it? And we were planning on like a year out or something like that. Right. And then I called her because these are when I used to take my kids out on dates once a week for breakfast. Yeah. And so we were there and we were just talking about nothing. And she says to me, Dad, I read in the Bible, there's one Bible part and then it has this thing and it talks about sex. What's sex? I was like, wow, we're supposed to just have egg McMuffins. Yeah. That's all we're supposed to do.
and if we're going to bring up the Bible, why are we talking about sex?
And so I called Patty and I said, she's asking. Mm-hmm. And so I told her, and I was very clear about what it was. And then and then I told, I said, but you're going to have to talk to your mom about all that other stuff.
She goes, oh my God, you and Mom did that 2 times?
She goes, and then she says, you and your mom, and she goes, she literally said that. She goes, oh, you and Mom did that twice? And
you had to do that with Dad twice?
You had to do that with Dad twice? And she goes, yep.
Oh my
okay.
God.
So anyway, but I got way off track. What were we talking about?
I don't know. Maybe you should ask me question number 2.
Well, the long and the short of it is
sex, and I'll tell you my belief. Little thing that comes to mind.
What?
Can I tell you what comes to mind?
Go ahead. You need to talk to Mike though, because otherwise people just think this random person's talking from the streets.
Okay, so one like, I don't know if it's a belief or a value that was always like ingrained in me as a kid is if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Oh, see, I could have said that. Mom's always said that.
Yeah, that would have been way better.
Yeah.
And the other one is the golden rule.
Yeah, which is get as much money as you can.
Exactly.
What is the golden rule?
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That goes right back to sex. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
So
I really
I don't know
ruined
how
that.
I'm going to survive editing this episode.
I really ruined that whole thing. I'm so
No,
sorry.
That
by
was good
saying
though.
that.
No, but that is good. Mama said very much what Patty just said. So why didn't I think of that?
I don't know. It would have been a far easier conversation. It would have been a far easier
Oh
thing.
my goodness.
But I will say, do unto other. And I'm not sure if is that the golden rule? Do unto others, or is it love your neighbor as yours? What does it say?
No, the golden rule is do unto others as you would
Do unto others as you would have
treat
them do to
people
you.
the way you would like to be treated.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Better way to say it.
and what was the first one that you said? I forgot it already because of my funny joke.
It was
If you don't have anything nice to say.
Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. That's interesting. That's an interesting phrase too, though. But I do think it's very good.
Why do you say interesting?
Well, because I think sometimes we have to say the truth, even if it's not necessarily nice.
I think that, I mean, if I can interject, I think that
You can.
phrase
It's a podcast,
isn't
and you're part of it.
necessarily like,
You're Valerie.
I feel like, no, I feel like when you use that phrase, it's not like, oh, you're being brutally honest. You know, don't say anything. You know, I feel like it's when you're hearing like, I feel like it's almost like when you want to teach a lesson, like,
Right.
you know, you're talking badly about this person, or you're saying negative things about that kid, or, you know,
No, there
kids,
you go.
You know,
I do
that's,
think it's absolutely, it's not helpful to ever talk negatively about somebody who's not there, but it is important that we say what we believe in a moment, especially with people we care about. With people we don't care about, it's like, just ignore them and move on. It's like, who cares? It's like, it doesn't matter. In other words, a stranger disagrees with you about politics or disagrees with you about X, Y, or Z. Why get in an argument about it? Because it's not really going to be helpful to anybody. And it might just escalate a situation. And so let it go. On the other hand, with a friend, a family member, somebody who's close to you, to say it in a way that's respectful. Maybe that's another thing, is being respectful, because it's one thing to say, well, you're an idiot and I hate what you're saying. But it's another thing to say, you know, I respectfully disagree. I think X, Y, and Z.
but that doesn't mean that you're saying, so along with that, I'm just thinking, I'm picturing something is said and in your mind, you're thinking of something negative to say about it. And I don't mean that you're going to talk negative about the person, but you're just going to be saying something mean.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, do I throw that out there because what is it going to do? No. Don't, if you're not going to say anything nice, just don't say anything at all.
I agree with that. Okay. Next question. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice about living a wholehearted life, what would it be? And a younger self could be any younger self. So, but I'm thinking probably in your 20s or even high schooler.
Oh, okay. Every time you said young, I'm thinking of like elementary school. So if I could tell my younger self, give my younger self a piece of advice about living wholeheartedly, what would I?
Yeah. What advice would you give yourself?
Oh my gosh, you should give me these questions ahead of time.
Iggy, do you have one? Even though you are a younger self,
You are.
at least compared to us. Think, Valerie.
Sorry, I was trying to process the question again. It's if I were to say anything to my younger self about
Living wholeheartedly, what would you do? So I'll tell you mine.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things that I would say, and this is kind of a circular thing that I'm about to say, and it might sound weird, but I have to admit that there are times that I submitted, what's the right word? That's not the right word, to peer pressure. Caved.
Caved into peer pressure.
But in my case, the peer pressure wasn't like, let's go drink or let's have sex or let's, you know, and we just had the sex conversation, but I mean, let's just go party or whatever like that. My thing was, I was very into the church, and there were things that I didn't necessarily totally agree in, but I embraced them because I wanted to be a part of that community. And instead of trying to figure out what's really going on here, I just embraced it whole without any kind of thought of who I am. You know, you and I have talked about a friend, you know, you're going to, well, I guess it's your church now, but you are going to Ted's church, who I grew up with. And Ted was a partier back then. And there's a part of me that wishes that I would have been more my authentic self and been able to embrace both the fun as well as maintain my ethics, for lack of a better word. And I didn't, and I want to go back to myself and say, just be you, just be you. And if you don't know who you is, figure it out, because that's what's most important. Don't try and be what somebody else wants you to be.
Right.
Be you. And if you can be you, whether the person likes you or not, you need to find your own tribe, so that you're not stuck. Because there's still times, even as 50, however old I am I 55? 55 years old. There are still times when I find myself in situations where I refrain from saying certain things for fear of being ostracized. And it's like, I want to, which is ironic because I talk a lot, but there are times when it's like, I'm not sure I'm 100% authentic due to fear of being rejected by a group.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I felt like that. I've always been very open with who I was in high school, to a fault, because if friends just said, you can't be our friend anymore, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, you know what I mean? But I
see now what? Here we last podcast, it's interesting. We talked about women and their looks. What I am going to say that is interesting is, if you're pretty, you can say anything because you're always in.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
You were pretty.
Oh.
I wasn't. So I wasn't the best athlete. I was a good athlete, but nobody was saying, hey, we want Bennie on our team. I wasn't picked last, but I wasn't picked first. I was a starter in all my sports, but I wasn't necessarily a standout. And I didn't fit in certain areas. And I certainly, because of the way sometimes I was treated at home, I certainly never felt that confidence to be who I should be. And I think there's one thing that to be said about being a pretty woman is that or tall man. I'm telling you what, a tall man, it doesn't, a tall man, Iggy, you can correct me, but a tall man walks around like they're the king. They could be the stupidest person in the entire earth, but everybody looks at him like, wow, this person knows everything. It's like, hey, that sky is red. Oh my God, it is red. It's like, it just, there's just something about certain things.
I hear what you're saying about that. And, it's funny because I think Peter felt the same way in high school. Like, he didn't fit into certain groups, but he did. But he was authentically himself, and that's why he didn't fit in, because he was like, well, I'm not really into sports anymore right now. I want to do this, and so but he still didn't fit. He still felt like he didn't fit in certain areas. I don't know. It might just be that age too. For me, I think looking back when you said your 20s, I realized I got married when I was 19. So I think if I could look back and tell myself something about living wholeheartedly and what I could do differently, it would be when I was in that marriage at that young age, to just be a stronger person, just be more, just be stronger.
What can you define stronger? Oh,
just more like, because I wasn't in a good marriage, I felt like I had to take everything.
I see.
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt like I mean, just to sum it all up, I felt like I had to take it. And I just was in this marriage and there was no way out, and I was just going to take it. And I wish that I could have been stronger earlier on.
Right.
And I don't know, put my foot down, so to speak, and just have a voice.
Have a voice. I love that.
Yeah. So I guess that's the one thing.
Iggy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have one, you're more than welcome to spit it out.
I think for me, it's kind of like yours, where it's just be yourself, but not in the sense of to fit in. For me, it was more of, I feel like I had your stereotypical Asian kid growing up with very high standards to live up to. So a lot of...
Are you good in math?
Yes.
I'm sorry. But, we've joked with Iggy, for all of you that are judging me right now.
This is true. But I feel like when I was younger, there were times, maybe even every now and then, I'll catch myself now where I judge my worth on how well I do on things because I've always had to live up to a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
And then
I mean, it's not good that you're doing that. It's good that I get what you're
You
saying.
recognize
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
and then like now I just, whenever I catch myself in that mindset, I think of that one scene from Coach Carter
Mm-hmm.
where that one player that he always asks, what's your greatest fear?
Mm-hmm.
And finally he said something like, our greatest fear isn't that we're inadequate, it's that we're adequate beyond measure.
Mm.
And it's not it's not our darkness but our light that scares us, because then if we let our light shine, you unknowingly let everyone else around you.
Jeez, mic drop.
Right?
God.
Thank you for joining us.
To be fair, I had time to think about this because you guys went first.
That's true.
No, that was
Well,
good.
you know what? I'm not going to ask you the other questions. I have a few more questions. Well, actually, I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Is that okay?
It's fine. You can go all the way to the bottom if you want.
No, I'm not going to ask you. That did not sound good. What is a conversation that you've had that deeply impacted the way you see the world? I'm sure it's with me. What is a conversation that you've had that deeply impacted the way you see the world?
Wow, these are so deep.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be called wholehearted living if I just asked you what color
What is your
is
favorite
cheese?
color? What conversation have I had? You know what? I don't know. Sadly, I can't think of a specific conversation, but I love my heart-to-heart talks with Mom.
Yeah.
The one thing I love about Peter that I didn't have in my other marriage at all is that we can talk for hours and
Yeah.
we can just chat. And so early on in my relationship with him, we would have long conversations. And I can't think of one in particular.
But you know what's interesting about what you're saying is I love the fact that I'm able to express myself with someone who I feel safe with, and because Mom and Peter are both safe.
Yeah.
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 Because one thing I can tell you about Mom is I rarely leave a conversation with I've left conversations with Mom frustrated because I don't necessarily agree with what she said, or she said something that was maybe a little offensive. How did I just do that in Spanish? A little bit offensive, or to me at least, or whatever. But one thing I absolutely know about our mother is that she absolutely loves us unconditionally. And if she ever knew that she offended us, it would be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to offend you. I want to, I was just talking or whatever. And then what I love about Mom is she doesn't say, I don't agree with what I said. She never does that.
Right.
She's like, she just is, I don't mean to hurt you.
Yes.
And it just empowers you to think, wow, I want to be that person.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because if you ask Mom or say to Mom, and if she was on this podcast, which she has been, by the way, then she would be like, I have nothing good to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Right.
And yet she has no idea of what she gives to other people by just being herself.
Exactly.
She's just so herself.
It's very true.
And if you ask her, how can you be so much yourself? She's like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't like she's totally like, she would never.
She's not very confident, and yet she's very confident in what she says, even though she doesn't know she's saying.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah.
She's totally confident in what she's saying. And then after but when you ask her about her confidence, she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you guys could ever do a podcast.
Yeah.
When we asked her to be on this podcast, she was like,
the
I'm not going to have
best.
anything to
And
say.
She was
She's
like,
yeah,
awesome.
but she was awesome.
Yeah. No, but you're right
Yeah.
about Mom, because I think that's why I can't think of a specific conversation, because there's been many with her.
Gosh.
But you're right. Even if there's certain things that you're just like, I don't know if I feel about that. I never walk away thinking, oh, she was trying to hurt me, or she was trying to prove me wrong, or she was trying to, like, I always know that what she's
She's just being her.
Yeah.
She's 100%
Yeah.
her.
And if she
I
knew,
love that.
like you said, if she knew that anything was coming off judgmental or whatever, because she can be very frank. That's
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. She would definitely apologize for how you felt when she said it, but she still stands true to what
She won't
was saying.
apologize for what she said.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
she's not going to do that. Yeah. And it was funny because we've talked about this in way long time ago podcasts, but I hated disappointing mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it came to growing up, it's like I didn't want to. I'm totally off the subject now. So why we're gonna finish? Okay, we're gonna wrap up. So here's the thing that the reason why I'm asking these questions is some of you are listening, and you're influenced, whether you know it or not, by your youth. You're influenced by your beliefs. You're influenced by all those things. And that's what's either going to make you wholehearted or not wholehearted. And so I just want to encourage you to ponder your beliefs, because some of them are great, honestly. Some of them are great and you need to stand by them. Some of them you need to go, this thing has been influencing me for a really long time, but it's not actually something positive for my life now, because there are certain beliefs that we have from when we're grown up that really don't serve us anymore, and we need to let those things go. So hopefully from a wholehearted living standpoint, you answered these questions, and then you really asked yourself, do these still serve me? So there you go.
Very good.
That's all I have to say.
Very good.
So thank you for listening. We're at wholehearted_living_podcast on Instagram, and you can find us on YouTube as well.
And Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Spotify. I said Instagram, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, folks. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it was funny. I hope you laughed. I hope you cried. I hope you smelled.
Smelled?
I don't know. I messed that up. Thank you,
Oh my
Iggy, for
gosh.
keeping us in sound.
Yeah. We will chat with you later. Bye.
Ciao.